In the following tutorial, I'm going to cover how to design gameplay map layouts. This is going to be a complete in-depth guide on how to create your own multiplayer map layouts. A layout that will contain good pacing, flow, and balance, that will contain strategy. Hopefully the map could be used in competitive gameplay, and most important, it's fun to play and that other players will enjoy it and download it and tell others about it. Now in this tutorial I'm going to primarily focus and use Counter-Strike Global Offensive. But this tutorial can be used for any Counter-Strike versions released in the past. And if you are not designing any maps in Counter-Strike, you will still get some value from this tutorial because the ideas and principles I'm going to share with you can be transferred to other games that are similar in playing style and gameplay mechanics of Counter-Strike. So we are primarily going to focus on layout game type, that is team round-based multiplayer map scenarios. In Counter-Strike these are defuse and hostage rescue maps, but in other first-person shooter games these are called demolition, attack and defend, assault, and search and destroy game types. I began playing Counter-Strike in 2001 when version 1.1 came out. This game became an obsession for me for a few years where I played it non-stop. I even played competitively for a couple of years, which gave me an insight into the competitive world of an online shooter. The longer I played, the more I began to notice there are a handful of maps that have stood the test of time for more than 10 years, being played over and over again and being updated to a new version of Counter-Strike, from the original to Counter-Strike Source to Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Maps such as Train, Aztec, Inferno, Nuke, Dust, and Dust 2. All these maps have been around for more than 10 years, being played competitively and on public servers. Yet the layout hasn't changed all that much, except for very minor modifications. Before creating the layout for any game, you have to know your game. You have to play the game a lot. One of my favorite quotes from Jim Brown, who is the lead level designer at Epic Games, he says, "Make sure you really intimately know the game itself and all of its subtleties so that you can position that knowledge." The more you know the game you're mapping for, the better you can use that experience and that knowledge to create better maps. Play all of the official maps in Counter-Strike. I would recommend focusing on the core 9 maps that have been around for over a decade, maybe a little bit less with some of these maps. These are Nuke, Dust 2, Dust, Italy, Inferno, Aztec, Train, Office, and Mirage. These should be the maps that you study as much as you can for how to create good layouts. As you play Counter-Strike, you want to keep notes and analyze each of these maps. You want to notice how many choke points does the map have? Is the map balanced? And does any of the team have advantage within the map? How's the flow? How's the pacing? You want to notice how long does it take from each spawn point to reach a choke point and begin fighting the other team. You want to notice which team gets to the choke point first. How many main pathways does each map have for each team from the spawn? And does the map support various playing styles? Playing styles include sniping, close quarter combat, stealth, medium range combat. The more playing styles the map supports, the more it will appeal to a wider range of players. So as you begin playing and analyzing each map, as well as learning about the gameplay mechanics of each scenario and of the game itself, you'll begin to get a better idea of what map you want to create. And in Counter-Strike this starts with defining your scenario. Do you want to create a defuse map or a hostage rescue map? Now in Counter-Strike there are other unofficial game types, but in this tutorial I'm only going to focus on the core gameplay scenarios, which is defuse and hostage rescue. Now let's start the layout. You want to begin thinking about how many main paths will the map have? How many connecting paths will it have? Where are the choke points going to be? What are the locations you want for the choke points and spawn points? And how will this map support various gameplay styles? All of the official maps in Counter-Strike contain all of these. So at this point, all you're doing is collecting data. So begin sketching and drawing ideas for layouts. This is not the final layout, but just ideas of what you've seen in the official maps and possible ideas that you may want to include. So these could be choke point areas, these could be pathways from spawn point to a choke point, these could be objectives where the bomb site is going to be or where the hostages are going to be, and just anything that you would want to include in your map. Remember, right now all you're doing is collecting data that you may want to use in your final layout and in your map. Also, I often begin collecting photo reference at this stage. This helps me to get an idea of the layout, of possible choke points, and just an overall idea of the theme and the map I want to create. All the data you've collected will help you to narrow down your idea and refine it. At this point, you may already have an idea for your environment. And to make it a little bit more clear, the idea comes down to two things: location and environment setting. Location is defined by a specific place, and an environment setting is more of a theme of the entire environment. And to give you a more in-depth understanding into planning out your idea, I would recommend you read a tutorial I created a while back. You can find this on worldofleveldesign.com. It's called How to Plan Level Designs and Game Environments, and you can find it under level design icon, and if you scroll down just a tiny bit under level design workflows, this will take you to the tutorial. We are now ready for the map layout formula, and we'll go step by step into each aspect of the layout creation. To give you a very quick overview of the entire layout formula that we're going to go through is we create our layout from the point of view of the attacking team. We start from spawn points, then we create main pathways, then we set up and define objectives, then we create choke points, then we create connecting or alternate pathways, and then we define strategy with additional paths for variety and complexity to the layout. Let me show it to you visually so you get a better idea of what I'm talking about. First, we define the spawn points of each team. This is very arbitrary. We just set up two spawn points across from each other of two teams. When I create a layout, I always start with the attacking team first, because they will be the ones pushing forward. The defending team, all they need to do is defend. So once I set up my spawn points, I define main pathways. I stay very simple at this stage and just draw arrows of what the main pathways may look like. Next, I define the objectives of where the bomb sites or the hostage rescues is going to be. Then I finish it off from the defending side and just reconnect it so all the main pathways connect together. Next, I decide where I may want to have choke points. These are always somewhere on the main pathways. Next, I use connecting pathways to add a little variety and more strategy, and I do it for the attacking team first, and then I add some connecting pathways for the defending team, and then last I add some strategy with additional pathways for some complexity and added strategy. So this is a brief overview of how I create the layout, and now we're going to go step by step into each section and go more in depth. Let's begin with main path routes. Main paths are routes that each team takes to reach a choke point and an objective. Each map in Counter-Strike has these. If we take a look at Dust layout, this map has two main paths. Each of these paths take the attacking team towards the choke point and then towards the objective. The first one is through Palace Interior and the second one is through Underpass. Nuke has the same thing, but this map contains three main paths. The attacking team has a choice of going outside, through back room, or through side room. Let me show you in game. As the attacking team spawns, they have an option going outside through here. That's the first main path. They can go through here towards the objective, side A, or they have a choice of going into the side room towards B. These are the three primary ways that the terrorist attacking team on this map has to reach the objective. On Dust, the attacking team has two main paths, through Interior Palace or through Underpass. Now, as a side note, you may notice that In this map, there are a couple of connecting pathways that the terrorist team can take going up to the overpass, or they have this hallway that connects Interior Palace to the overpass as well. These are connecting pathways, and I will discuss them in a later section. The map Aztec has 3 main paths. One is through the doors, the other one is going to the bridge, and the third one is going water. Hostage rescue maps work the same way. We start from the attacking side, and in Italy there are 3 main paths. Let me put no clip on so I can show you a little faster. So the first one is going through the tunnel. This is the first main path. We can go through the middle, or going up here through the apartments. Everything else are connecting pathways between those main pathways. When you are designing main path routes, you always want to design them from the point of view of the attacking team. You want to focus on simplicity of the main path design. I often draw just straight lines of what I want the attacking team to take, and if I need to add more complexity and interest in design, then I do that in the BSP stages of the map. Main pathways are going to be the core of your map layout. They are the most important part of your map to get right, because everything else will spawn from here. The connecting paths, the choke points, the objectives, all of these will be determined by your main paths. You want to develop 2 or 3 main paths leading from spawn points to bomb site or to hostage locations, depending on the map scenario type that you're creating. I would avoid doing more than 3 main paths, but once you are more comfortable with creating 2 or 3 main paths, just like in Dust, Train, Inferno, Aztec, all these maps contain 2 or 3 main paths. The only map contains 4 main paths is Dust 2. You want to make sure that all your main paths lead to a choke point and to a map's objective. Choke points are your next most important element in your map layout. Choke point is where the attacking team meets resistance from the defending team. This is where the player will be spending majority of the time playing, and this is where the action happens within your map. So when the attacking team reaches the choke point, they must push through the choke point to reach the objective. Every choke point that you create should be specifically designed to offer interesting combat opportunities. So it is important to spend time crafting each choke point so they are interesting to play. So in every map you create, you must channel the attacking team towards the choke point, where they have an option to rush or fight through it, or they must change the direction, retreat back and try a different strategy through a different path and a different choke point. So the main paths lead each team to a choke point where they battle for control and attack or defend the objective. This is why it is very important that you place your choke points before the attacking team can reach the map's objective. If you have 3 main paths in your map, you should have 3 choke points. This is the layout of the train, and in this map there are 3 main paths. Each leads to a choke point before the terrorists reach the objective. So here we are in the train map, and let me show you the 3 main choke points in the map. So the first choke point is right here in the front entrance. Another choke point that takes the terrorist team right into here, into the back entrance. This is another choke point. And the third choke point is right in here, where the terrorist team has to fight through or retreat back and try a different approach. On Dust 2, let me show you the choke points here. Right in here, the upper tunnel, this is the choke point. Then we have double doors, this is another choke point. Third choke point is right up here in short stairs. And the fourth choke point is either right here in the long doors or long A, depending on if CTs rush this area or if they stay back near the bomb site. On Aztec, we have 3 main paths in this map, and we have 3 choke points. The first one is the double doors. The second one is right here on the bridge, and the third one is in the water. Choke point timing is one of the most important aspects of creating your choke point. This means that both teams must arrive at a choke point around the same time. Defending team can reach this choke point a couple of seconds earlier to set up position. And when you are creating diffuse maps, this timing of the choke point arrival for both teams is critical. In hostage rescue maps, this timing is a little bit more flexible. Remember, design your choke point so the attacking team has to fight through it. Now, since timing is extremely critical in designing your choke point, this will be done in the BSP layout stages of your map, and you have to do this very early in the blocking stage, so you can test out from each team how long it takes from spawn to run towards a choke point. Both teams have to arrive and meet each other around the same time, and that is going to be your choke point. So let me show you this timing in Nuke. I'm going to start from each team and I'm going to run towards the choke point, timing myself how long it takes for CT and for T to arrive at those locations. So let me restart the round and notice the timer, and notice how many seconds it took the CT to reach the outside choke point. So I'm running with the knife, so it's fastest that you can run in Counter-Strike. So right about here, it took about 11 to 12 seconds to reach the outside choke point. So here we are on the T side. Let me restart the round, and I'm going to do the same thing, rushing towards the outside choke point. And it will take about 10 to 11 to 12 seconds to reach that exact same location. Here we are at 10 seconds, 11, and 12. Right about here, we should see the CT coming up at that choke point. Let's do one more choke point. We're gonna go into the side room. We're gonna rush and go inside and see how long it took us to get here. Right about here, 12 seconds. So let me switch teams. And we're going to do the same thing, rushing inside from the CT side. So it took us about 12 seconds on the T side. We are at 10 seconds here, 11 and 12. Right about here we should start fighting and seeing the T's if they rush through. So this timing of 2 teams arriving at a choke point is one of the most important aspects of designing your layout and designing your choke points. So you'll have to do this during your BSP layout stages. You'll have to start from spawn, running towards a choke point from each side and seeing where each team will meet, and you'll have to refine your layout until that choke point timing is exactly the same. Now we come to our final section of creating the layout, connecting path routes. Connecting paths are routes that connect main paths between each other, giving player choices for strategy. It offers each team to switch direction to a different main path without going back to spawn and switching direction that way. It simply adds extra options of how the player wants to play the game. Let me give you examples in the official maps. So the connecting path on Dust 2 would be when you go B and you reach a choke point and you can't quite get through it. There is a connecting path that takes you from the upper tunnel down the stairs into the lower tunnel towards the doors. This would be a connecting path. In Inferno there's a few connecting paths here. We have right down here into the crawl space, that's a connecting path. If we go over here, this area in the haystack, that's a connecting path. And another connecting path would be when we go inside the apartments. Right down here, this area, this is a connected path as well, given the choice for T's to either go here or go towards the bomb site. CTs have a few connecting paths on this map as well. One of them is going through the interior of the house here. One of the primary ways that CT team storms the choke point is they go through this tunnel here. But another way is to once the bomb has been planted, this offers an added optionality to go in towards the bomb site, giving a little bit of variety and strategy for CT team. Another connecting path is at B site. You can go right through here, through the ruins, and just come out on the other side instead of going straight through. The entire Italy map is interconnected. Here on the CT side, if we are near Long Hall, there's a connecting path that takes you to middle, and there's another connecting path that takes you to left alley, right up there. There's also a connected path right in here that you can switch going from middle, and you can go up to apartments right through here. And you can also take this little connected path that takes you to left alley. You want to focus on a single connecting path between two main paths. You can expand this with experience. If you're doing a hostage rescue map, you can connect every single path to each other like you've seen on Italy and Office. But when you're doing the diffuse map, begin with only a single connecting path between two main paths. Only create connecting paths once you have your main paths laid out. You want to create connecting paths for the attacking team and for the defending team. You also want to make sure that you create connecting paths before the choke point. If you create too many paths taking you through the choke point to the other side, then you are creating a map that may not be balanced and you're destroying a choke point. Not every main path needs an option of connecting paths. On Dust 2, if you take Clone A, there is no connecting path that takes you to another main pathway. So what connecting paths do is they offer strategy. Let's put this all together. Start off with spawn points. Then use the attacking team as the point of view where you'll design your main pathways. Then put down objectives, either bomb sites or hostage rescue locations. Then connect your main pathways from the defending side, so the layout doesn't have any dead ends and everything flows smoothly. Then use your main pathways to set up your choke points. Then create connecting pathways, first for the attacking team, then create connecting pathways for the defending team. And finally, you want to add a little more complexity and strategy by adding any more connecting paths near choke points and objectives. Now you have a layout that you can use to begin blocking in your map.